Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Asda's contract changes are just not fair, and this is an odd one because it's a combination of raising the wage, but then also the competitive nature of of competition, if you will, of the larger supermarkets. So this probably shows, in the kindest way, or the most sympathetic view, a rise of minimum wage, but then also what could possibly happen, even if done in the most sympathetic way, when it doesn't have to be done, because this even includes investment from the supermarkets. But essentially, the argument against minimum wage is, well, obviously the same that it's always been, even the argument for it, that is, it will drive other people out of work. Minimum wage was introduced, in America at least, in order to give jobs to white people and to not let the black people get jobs. That was why it was introduced. It was to say, hey, you shouldn't be getting that cheap labour of inferior quality. You should be paying more for better people, and they're definitely white. Because, at least back in the day, the black people were more opportunistic and willing to work for less. And therefore, obviously, the employers would be happy to go for that, but the government prevented them from doing so. So, the rise in a wage, if it's done unilaterally, if you're trying to raise the floor, is that some people can't even get up to the floor. They can't even get onto the ladder of earning. They are pushed out. However, even in this, when it's done at the cost of other benefits in order to try to get as many people as possible, and for Asda here, they even say they're trying to not lose any employees. They're just trying to restructure their payment contract in order to get it to work better, and that includes from an investment side. So this is bullying. It even gets negative responses, but the response that the BBC has decided to pick is one of entitlement. It is somebody saying that they have worked there. Kathy Murphy has worked for Asda for the last 44 years and says it's been an absolutely amazing employer. But now it's just not fair for trying to change the contract, or at least this particular change of contract. It doesn't really matter, but nonetheless, the point being, well, if you've been there for 44 years, why have you not moved up at all? Why are you still at that level? Why are you still at the bottom of the ladder if you've been there for 44 years? Surely you should have progressed by now. And that's also seen when people mention wealth inequality. Oh yes, but look at how different the top 10% are from the bottom 10%. So yes, but also look at how many people move in between those brackets, and most people don't stay as top earners. They come back down. They kind of peak in middle age and then come back down. They don't start there, they don't finish there, but they do spend a bit of time there. So it isn't just one big monolith that you're incapable of entering. The economic mobility is more important than the economic inequality, as far as I'm concerned, that you can start from anywhere and end it anywhere, and your journey can be anything. So, let's read on to what her particular qualms are, saying that it's unfair, as if she's owed something. So, well, surely you have received what you've agreed to, and if you haven't progressed and you're not earning more, then why should you be given more, essentially? But maybe that's just weaponized autism at work. So she says she is one of thousands of employees who have been told to sign the new contract before 2nd of November or leave the business, but describes it as just not fair. The GMB union says up to 12,000 workers face a choice between signing the new contracts, which increases wages to £9 an hour, but scrap many other perks, or being sacked in the run up to Christmas. And it's always going to be some particular time, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, it's just after Christmas, so how are we supposed to start the new year? Oh, it's the summer holidays, so what about the children, because they're at home? And oh, yeah, because it's Christmas. Like, yeah, it's always going to be some particular time of year, because these holidays are spread out, unless you're in Scotland. So as they told the BBC, this contract is an investment of more than £80 million and increases real pay for over 100,000 colleagues. So that basically 10% face the choice of the 100,000 who have a real pay increase. So the change they're making, essentially, and they say Miss Murphy works in the fruit and vegetable section at Asda's Park at Ford store in Glasgow, and she's a union representative. Yeah, okay, no, I'm not going to. Not going to go there, of how unions are awful. So, they say that Asda started it as voluntary, and then it went well, so they thought, well, hey, let's make it easier, kind of admin fees, and just roll it out for everybody. And if you don't want it, obviously we're not going to force you to work here. That's slavery, and therefore you do have the choice to go somewhere else. This is very competitive, so we understand if you will. We're going to give you some help in how to write CVs, but then that's condescending. But then if they hadn't done it at all, it would have been hanging them out to dry, which it is also doing. So who knows? So moving on, just to say what they've cut out, and then what they're given in return is of course £9 an hour. So they say, on November the 2nd, we understand up to 12,000 of your loyal Asda workers will be given sanctions before Christmas, it said in a letter sent over the weekend. Asda says the vast majority of staff have signed up to the new contract. And they go on to say what the changes are. In 2017, when it started as voluntary, the supermarket chain offered workers a salary increase in exchange for voluntarily switching to a new contract that introduced unpaid breaks and a requirement to work over bank holidays. That is to say, we're not going to pay you when you're not working. Fair enough. You're not providing any value, so we're not going to give you anything. Makes sense to me. And then when they're at their busiest, they need more staff. So instead of having more time off, then you've got to be working. And that's basically how retail works. You don't get very social hours. In particular, of course, in restaurants, in that kind of food retail, that obviously, if you're working to help people out and they're not working, then obviously you're not going to be having that social time free because you're busy working. You have the rest of the time free. Which is nice if you like a quiet time, of course. Like if you're working more evenings and night shifts, then you have the day to spend in the park. So isn't that nice? A few times a week, because obviously you'll be catching up on sleep. But nonetheless, the main cost of this is that raising that wage can cause people to feel like they're missing out, that they're not happy, even though that, as far as I can see, they're not really missing out, because now they're just not being paid for when they're not working, and they have to pay when they have to work when they're needed, essentially. But we are seeing by raising that wage, then if people are going to be out of work, then if they're going to have fewer people to do high skilled work, and I know that places like Aldi and Lidl are an example of that, where they don't have different staff for different jobs, they have all the staff for all the jobs, which helps them to cut down costs. And there was a video, I believe it was by cracked.com, I think it was, that explained how they can have such cheaper food, and as the top comment was that it's basically just an advert for them. So I do recommend that if you're interested as well, and it does go into that detail. And you've probably seen it yourself if you've shopped there, that they say if you're queuing behind this point, we'll open another till. Otherwise, because it's quieter, we're going to be replenishing the store and the stock and sorting things out throughout the rest of the supermarket in order for it to run smoother when it is busier. So that all makes a lot of sense to me. Instead of having people at the large supermarkets, I'm sure you've seen, just sitting around waiting for somebody to come, even though nobody does. And also then those, a lot of checkouts are left empty anyway, because there aren't enough people using them, because now it's self-service, because it's quicker, which I still think should net you a discount and not just you leaving a bit quicker. But I suppose time is money. The idea being that now you're doing somebody else's job, but what do I know? They're just going to be, then the union's going to strike back again and say, you can't be these people out of a job, because then it's going to be like on trains. What about the guard for the train? Or it's going to be like at cinemas with the film reel operator. It's going to be, well, what's going to happen to them with the new introduction of tech when things are made easier? So, well, yeah, so they don't have that job, they have a different job. They have a more technical job, and therefore they're better paid as well. And comparatively, compared to like 100 years ago, for example, seeing as technology is increasing so dramatically, that their spending power is now significantly more as well, because things have become cheaper and people are being paid more. So it all works out essentially, but people can't seem to think that far ahead, and that's why I'm also not so worried about AI growing as I was before, because that just means work's going to move like the agricultural revolution and then the industrial revolution. It's like, well, this helps. Now we're not having people working at the same jobs as before. So like, well, surely we'd have a massive rise in unemployment because now we haven't got enough miners or farmers. Well no, because now new jobs have opened up. But anyway, That's it for me. My parting point will be that unfortunately with the new rises in minimum wage, that puts the lower skilled people out of work, and the vast majority of minimum wage employees are young people who haven't got the knowledge or experience yet to be paid more, and then they need to go through that in order to get on the ladder to move up, unlike obviously this lady has done, and now she feels like she's been given stuff just for being there. So, well, no, earn it like everybody else. But let me know if I'm too harsh. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for your continued support. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.